Stuff properly. Having all kinds of wardrobe mishaps with this dhoti cheddar set. It's the jute dhotis get me. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, let's begin with our glorifications of the Bhagavatam. Vainam Namaskritya Naram Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam.
Regarding means of conquest, one should offer that respectful obeisances only to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Mani, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Very good. Shrinatam Svagala Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantasto Ya Bhajani Vidino Tisadisatam.
Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart. It cleanses material desire from the heart of the devotees, develops the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves worthless and properly heard and chanted.
Ashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Yutamashvaki Bhaktivati Maishtaki.
My regular hearing for the class on the Bhagavatam will be rendered purely good. All that is done is completely destroying the loving service of the personality of God that is placed with transcendental songs. He established as a little work with that.
All right. So, where are we?
34.
Yes, text 34. I know the number, but where are we conceptually? Where are we, in context of what we're reading? Kunti is praying to Sri Krishna, and she's marveling that it's bewildering that Krishna comes in this family, in this dynasty, even though he's unborn, he takes birth, even though he is, what else does she say? She was talking about the Damodar Leela, how, you're in one sense all powerful, and yet you're crying in fear from your mother, and you're bound by your mother. So it's the conundrum of the all-powerful, almighty God, cries and and gets chastised and punished by his devotee mother. So he's conquered by the pure love of his devotees. So it's very confusing, actually. He comes in the birth as animals, as men, sages, aquatics, so many things. So she's really talking about the bewildering nature of the Lord. And actually, this should be a clue to us. You're not going to get the Lord if you think, oh, I know God. I know. God is not going to fit into logic. We have, especially men, women aren't as prone to emphasizing logic as the reason why they do everything that they do. That's not a bad thing. It's more emotionally driven. They feel things more. Where men, we're a little harder to feel things, but we're like, well, we have logic and rationality and mathematics and systems, and it's got to all fit into how our mind can conceive things. But the Lord is not like that. Actually, that's why you see women can much more easily, I find, accept the Lord. And Prabhupada actually agrees. I don't know if you remember maybe within a week or so, one of the purports was talking about how all the women in all religious institutions, they're very faithful, and they're like a very faithful foundation. Why? Because they can feel the process. So Kunti happens to be one of those women, but she's also seeing Krishna herself, and has been, remember, she was praying for calamities, so that you were there throughout all these calamities. I hope to actually see you again. Now that I wish they all happen again and again, so you don't leave us. You're always there through the calamities. So anyway, now she's talking about the different reasons why they said the Lord came. The answer is, it's all the reasons she's mentioning. He's born for the glorification of pious kings like Yudhisthira, or he's born to please King Yadu, which was like a prophecy that the Lord would come in the Yadu dynasty, one of his dearest devotees. And so on. For the welfare of those, for the welfare of the pious, and for those who are envious of to kill those who are envious of the demigods, so the suras and the asuras. So he comes for all of these reasons, but no one can pinpoint exactly what drives Krishna to do what he's doing. So anyway, we're going to see how this concludes out. We're on text 34 now. So repeat after me. Bhadavatarayanye Bhuvonava Ivodadho Sidantya Bodhibharena Jato Yatma Bhuvartitaha Bhadavataranaya, just to reduce the burden of the world. Anye, others. Bhuva, of the world. Nava, boat. Eva, like. Udadho, on the sea. Sidantya, aggrieved. Bhuri, extremely. Varena, by the burden. Jata, you were born. He, certainly. Atma Bhuva, by Brahma. Arthita, being prayed for. Okay. Others say, that she's continuing on with her thought of why the reasons the Lord comes. Others say that the world being overburdened like a boat at sea is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. So another reason, all of these reasons are actually correct. The demigods were praying. Mother Earth appeared before the demigods and was praying for relief. The Yadu dynasty had to be fulfilled. All of the pious kings like Yudhishthira had to be established. And the righteous, the devotees of all different types had to be nourished, while the miscreants of all different types had to be punished. This is the law of Krishna. So all of these things are why the Lord comes. But the number one thing is ultimately to give pleasure to the devotees. This is what Krishna does. He's Bhakta Vatsal. He's very affectionate to the devotees. So in all different ways, this is why, to give pleasure to his devotees. So I always forget to glorify the gurus if I start talking and reading Prabhupada's and commenting. So I'm just going to, after the translation now, I'm just going to glorify the gurus. So all together. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Vishnam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dhyati Svavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Savaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Vikriye Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnuvaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashidare Shikarine. Jai. Nice of you to join us. Yes, it's very cool. The heater broke? How did that happen?
I tried to turn it up because nothing was playing out, and I just turned it off.
Smooth. All right. Well,
You can take it from my room, I don't use it.
oh, we'll get one.
No, you.
We'll get something.
I don't use it.
Yeah, so but we'll figure it out. All right. So others say that the world being overburdened like a boat at sea is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. And purport: Brahma, the first living being born just after the creation, is the direct son of Narayan. Narayan, as Garbhodakshay Vishnu, first of all entered the material universe. Without spiritual contact, matter cannot create. This principle was followed from the very beginning of the creation. This is opposing to, in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the demonic. They say that everything is created through sex. That's what they believe. But sex is actually not the cause of everything. It's the apparent cause. Like, oh, the sex life happens, and then that's how the pregnancies happen, and the material world continues on. Even in the the plant species, there's a pollination and the bringing of the seed and so on. The sex life is just different, how it looks. But that's not actually how things are created. Those are just, there's a reason that material scientists, they can never put two things of matter together. It doesn't matter. They get all the right ingredients to make eggs, all the right ingredients to make sperm, and if they combine them, there's no creation. It's actually only by the spiritual process, because within those amalgamations, there's actually a spirit or a spark or a soul. So Prabhupada is actually, he's hinting at that. So anyhow, the Supreme Spirit entered the universe, and the first living being, Brahma, was born on a lotus flower grown out of the transcendental abdomen of Vishnu. Now, if you're hearing this for the first time, that's got to sound really far out. But we know this is the Vedic creation understanding, at least for this universe or all universes, material universes. So Vishnu is therefore known as Padmanabh. Padma is lotus, Nabha is belly or navel. Brahma is known as Atmabhu because he was begotten directly from the Father without any contact of Mother Lakshmiji. Lakshmiji was present near Narayan, engaged in the service of the Lord, and still without contact with Lakshmiji, Narayan begot Brahma. That is the omnipotency of the Lord. One who foolishly considers Narayan like other living beings should take a lesson from this. Narayan is not an ordinary living being. He is the personality of God in himself, and he has all the potencies of all the senses and all parts of his transcendental body. An ordinary living being begets a child by sexual intercourse, and he has no other means to beget a child other than the one designed for him. But Narayan, being omnipotent, like all-powerful, is not bound to any condition of energy. He is complete and independent to do anything and everything by his various potencies, very easily and perfectly. Brahma is therefore directly the son of the Father, and was not put into the womb of a mother. Therefore he is known as Atmabhu. This Brahma is in charge of further creations in the universe, secondarily reflected by the potency of the omnipotent, or the all-powerful. Within the halo of the universe, there is a transcendental planet known as Shweta Dweep, which is the abode of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the Paramatma feature, the Supreme Lord. Why is Prabhupada going through all this? He's like setting up how the demigods approached. This is his first canto, So that pastime's in the 10th canto of Krishna being, or Narayan being requested by Mother Earth. Well, first Brahma being requested by Mother Earth, and then Brahma's praying. So he's setting up, all right, this is the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. This is where, the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he lies in Swetadweep, and so on. So just so you know, if you're wondering why. So anyhow, is the transcendental planet known as Swetadweep, which is the abode of the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the Paramatma feature, the Supreme Lord. Whenever there is trouble in the universe that cannot be solved by the administrative demigods, they approach Brahmaji for a solution. And if it is not to be solved even by Brahmaji, then Brahmaji consults and prays to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu for an incarnation and solution to the problems. Such a problem arose when Kamsa and others were ruling over the earth, and the earth became too much overburdened by the misdeeds of the Asuras. Brahmaji, along with other demigods, prayed at the shore of Kshirodak ocean, and they were advised of the descent of Krishna as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So some people say that the Lord appeared because of the prayers of Brahmaji. So Prabhupada was just explaining how that happened. For if anyone's listening online or is Western in concepts and thoughts, this is definitely going to be way out in left field for you. But if you understand our lack of understanding of anything, it might be more something to pique your curiosity. Well, let me see what this creation story is about. So anyway, that's how the universe is said to be created. For me, I can't wrap my logic around that at all. So luckily, my spiritual process isn't completely confined to logic, and if it were, I wouldn't be here. Because logic, you can't wrap your head around that. You can't wrap your mind. I'm like, oh, well, there's the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, and he's on an ocean, and this one is requesting him. It's all beyond logic. But, on the feeling and the confirmation one gets in the spiritual process, you'll have faith. You'll develop faith, and you'll realize that, I'm being reciprocated here. There's a divine force reciprocating with me. There's too many so-called coincidences happening here. There's no such thing as coincidences, but one of the a logician will, they'll have things like probability, right? So like probability means like, all right, well, the chances of this happening are, this probability, this percentage. But if things of such a low probability just keep happening and lining up, this would be called like a synchronicity or destiny, things like that. So that actually has been one of the many things that has confirmed my faith heavily. So hello. Cool. Maybe let them through wherever they need to go. You're not going to be able to wrap your head around the Lord. So that's why Kunti's bewildered, and that's why everyone's bewildered by the Lord. The Lord is so bewildering. The whole world is arguing. One believes in the Lord this way, one believes in the Lord this way, and they're fighting. Why? Because no one can actually pinpoint. It says in Bhagavad Gita, of so many who take to transcendental life, only, one, there's so many human beings. One, there's so many living entities. Then there's only so many who take the human form of life. And then there's only so many of the human form of life who actually approach transcendental knowledge. And of all those who pursue transcendental knowledge, the Jnana Yogis, only one might know him in truth. So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But if you've made it this far, you have a really good shot with your sincerity at this point of, you could say, capturing the Lord, making the Lord yours, and the Lord considers you his. So keep going. And the success is actually guaranteed for those who've made it thus far. But as you can see, I made a Facebook post yesterday. I was joking that my YouTube channel, which pretty much consists of having Srimad Bhagavatam classes and Bhagavad Gita classes, maybe get 10 views on a video or something like this. So you could say maybe 10 out of so many people who might come across me or my channel might be interested or. But if I post on our wedding video, my wife and I's wedding video, it's like almost 1 million views. This is the consciousness, people, marriage, sense enjoyment. Yes, now let me look. But spiritual realization, no. No.
For your marriage, people are very curious, I would say. Not mostly like, oh.
Yes. So, it does pique curiosity and all these things. But, but just like a joke. But anyhow, this is actually the tendency of the living entities. Is they're not inclined to search for a deeper truth or history. They're too busy being distracted, or mystery. They're too busy being distracted, like, if I taste this thing, then I'll enjoy. If I rub this thing with this thing, I'll enjoy. Or if I watch this thing, I'll enjoy. If I listen to this thing, I'll enjoy. And this enjoyment, that enjoyment, this enjoyment. And pretty much the enjoyment doesn't last, and they have to keep switching, and they have to keep searching. And next thing you know, their life runs out. And they spent their whole life just like, let me enjoy this thing. Now let me go over here and enjoy this thing. And ultimately, there's no enjoyment. They make no progress. But the wise, who's advanced in the yoga processes, they'll realize, no, this enjoyment can never make me happy, because I'll have to just keep looking, and then the time will run out, and I'll just have to get a new body or something like this. But there's a source to pleasure, and that there's a deeper mystery here. There's a deeper purpose to life. So, first trying to understand the Lord, and then trying to actually love the Lord, will satisfy that hankering and actually give us real eternal enjoyment, which is what Rama means. Chant Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, the source of all pleasure. So anyway, let's just keep reading. Bhavesmin klishyamananam avidya kama karma bhi shravana smaranarhani karishyanniti kechana bhave, in the material creation, asmin, this, klishyamananam, of those who are suffering from avidya, nescience, kama, desire, karma bhi, by execution of fruitive work, shravana, hearing, smarana, remembering, arhani, worshipping, karishyan, may perform, iti, thus, kechana, others. And yet others say that you appear to rejuvenate the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned soul suffering material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. This is another reason the Lord comes. When He comes, it reawakens the dullness of the human consciousness and said, whoa, look at this. Look at this activity. Look at this thing, this marvelous thing. Look at this marvelous teaching. And then boom, interest back in the Lord, or interest back in divine Leela, or the divine teachings, the Shiksha of the Lord, like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. It gets reignited. So the Lord only comes so often, We're still talking about, one, the Lord coming 5,500 years ago. And then also we talk about the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you could say a covered coming of the Lord, which was only evident to those who really got to experience Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So anyhow, this is what it does. It stimulates devotional service. It stimulates, oh my God, this amazing personality came and he did like this, this, and this, and this. I want to hear more about him. I want to glorify him. I want to remember him. And so on. Even look at all the modern religions. On one side you have Judaism, which is one of the older religions, even though the Vedic religion is far older actually. But it's one of the older religions now, and they're clinging to the prophets and how God had delivered their people through so many miracles and things like this. And then there's the Christian religion, where there's an appearance of Jesus in the midst of the Jewish religion, and they were very, very captivated by that incarnation of a personality who was representing the Lord. And so they're still talking about that today, and many Christians will come up to me on the side of the street and try and tell me more about Jesus, fearing that I'll go to hell if I don't hear what they have to say. So we have to listen to some degree or another. And then you have the Islamic religion, where also they have a great prophet like Muhammad, who had come and done many things like this. And then they also, very captivated by him. And then you have the Sikhs, who had Guru Nanak, who did many, many miracles and things like this. So people get very captivated when a great personality comes and is doing something out of the ordinary. So it stimulates hearing, remembering, worshiping, and so on in the conditioned souls who are what? We're suffering from the material pangs. And ultimately we can take advantage and gain liberation. Like when I talk to a Christian and they tell me what Jesus had done for them, I'm often like, oh, I'm very glad. They have no idea what's going on with me, and in their mind they can only fathom that, oh, well, Jesus did this for me, so this is the only way. So here, let me give you what I have, even though I might have something better, which I personally believe I do. I personally believe we all do, at least here in this room. But, they feel that their material pangs and sufferings have been liberated. So they actually feel wholeheartedly. So, it's one of the reasons the Lord comes, is to give relief to those who have access to him and can take to the path of devotional service, and who can actually take advantage and gain liberation or freedom from suffering. So Prabhupada, he says, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord asserts that he appears in every millennium just to reestablish the way of religion. The way of religion is made by the Supreme Lord. No one can manufacture a new path of religion, as is the fashion for certain ambitious persons. The factual way of religion is to accept the Lord as the supreme authority, and thus render service unto him in spontaneous love. A living being cannot help but render service because he is constitutionally made for that purpose. The only function of the living being is to render service to the Lord. The Lord is great, and the living beings are subordinate to him. Therefore, the duty of the living being is just to serve him only. Unfortunately, the illusion living beings, out of misunderstanding only, become servants of the senses by material desire. This desire is called avidya, or nescience, or ignorance. And out of such desire, the living being makes different plans for material enjoyment centered about a perverted sex life. He therefore becomes entangled in the chain of birth and death by transmigrating into different bodies on different planets under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Unless, therefore, one is beyond the boundary of this nescience, one cannot get free from the threefold miseries of material life. That is the law of nature. The Lord, however, out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect, appear before them and renovates the principles of devotional service comprised of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping, praying, cooperating, and surrendering unto him. This is Prahlad Maharaj's prayer. Shravanam kirtanam Vishnu smaranam padasevanam archanam bandhanam dasyam sakyam atma nivedanam. This is given in the 7th canto. We pray to little Prahlad and Nrsimha every day. So this is ultimately the process of Vaidhi Bhakti. Adoption of all the above-mentioned items, or any one of them, can help a conditioned soul get out of the tangle of nescience and thus become liberated from all material sufferings created by the living being. illusioned by the external energy. This particular type of mercy is bestowed upon the living being by the Lord in the form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is our Kali Yuga incarnation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's amazing, he set the foundation for this whole tradition in such an extraordinary way that is empowering Srila Prabhupada to give this to us. But if you see, Prabhupada described the material condition, pretty much all kinds of different plans for material enjoyment, but what it's centered around? What did he say? What kind of sex? Perverted sex life. Yes, a perverted sex life. This is what the whole thing is about. What? But this is actually, how does creation continue? What's the process? Yes, the sex life in its perverted ways. Thinking that perverted means you could say adulterated, or let's actually look up the word perverted. My whole life where I've been calling people perverts, or someone calls me a pervert or something like this, and so it alters it from its original course, meaning, or state, or distorts it. So
something not natural.
Yeah. Right, but it also says another is to regard as abnormal, unacceptable in sexual behavior as well. But actually, Prabhupada's, he's talking about the original definition, to alter it. In spiritual life, sex is actually there. We can't participate in it in our current state, in our current body. But sex is actually there in the spiritual world. Actually, it's said, if you hear about the sexual pastimes of even the Supreme Lord, what it does is it actually that is possible if you keep reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, it'll touch on that. What it does is it actually purifies oneself of the perversions or the lust.
You can also do the opposite.
What?
Not going through.
If you don't do it bona fide, yes, it can do the if yes. So,
About streamlined sex life is going to cleanse your heart.
yes. So actually, it says in the Bhagavatam, by hearing of these pastimes from the authorized source, that it will cure the perversions of lust, which are driving us currently. On the other hand, if we don't hear from the authorized source in the authorized way, and it's recommended to hear and do this systematically, which is why the Bhagavatam is set up the way it does, all it will do is we'll misinterpret it, and it will only amplify the lust, because we're indoctrinating. That might look like, all right, let me skip to the 10th canto, let me not read a purport of any acharya, and let me just look at the Lord's sex life, and really let me try and use my own perverted mind to fathom what this is like, and somehow dovetail it so that I can have more sex life. That's that also will happen. So anyway, we should go through this systematically. But actually, there is pure sex life. Perversion is, unfortunately, the love and the emphasis that we put on the sexual relationship, whether it's boy, girl, boy, girl, whatever it is. I know Kali Yuga, everything is there. What's that? Well, I don't know. You talk about it nowadays, and you're just like, oh, you're not inclusive. So I'm trying to include everybody. So anyway, not you. She doesn't do that to me. But like, the culture is so crazy today.
Honestly, you're probably better off just not saying it if you're trying to be inclusive.
Yeah. Anyway, just be. It doesn't matter. But I'm saying it doesn't matter. No matter what type of sexual perversion, whether you're straight or gay or bi or this, that, and the other thing, it's all perversions. It's all perversions in the material world. The real sex life is actually is explained, and I'm not going to go into it right now because it's not the proper channel, and I'm really not qualified to really reveal in depth these type of things, nor would I say we, or as a collective, are qualified to engage in this topic as of right now. But there is a pure sexual impetus. And actually Krishna exemplifies that and shows what that looks like. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, that actually is one of the highlights of what it leads one past the perversions that are currently guiding us towards seeking pleasure in a sex life that ultimately causes misery. Everyone thinks, like I said, it's like, oh, look at all the people who are so interested in our marriage. Marriage is like the emblem or the symbol of sex life, beginning. People are so interested in this, but no one, not very many are interested in this. But actually, marriage just as a whole only offers misery, believe it or not. It really, if you look at the living entities coming, no, and it's nothing to do with my wife, and it's nothing to do with me. It's not her fault, nor is it my fault, other than in the material world, that's what it causes. It causes all kinds of misery. But devotional service, this is, and even using anything in devotional service, whether it be a microphone, whether it be a marriage, whether it be a house, using anything in devotional service actually causes real pleasure. And so anyhow, me and my wife's marriage, or even our service, we have a child. A child only can come through sex life, as far as I know, at least. But this type of thing offers no real pleasure in itself. There's a temporary flickering thing that is there. But ultimately, the Lord's, what sex life looks in the spiritual world, and I'll leave it at that, actually offers a real lasting pleasure. Oh wow, we're just doing the offering now. That's okay, Michael. That's all right. Tanmay, what time you have to leave, by the way? Whenever? Don't you have to get a bus?
I have to reach there at 10.
Yes. So it's not whenever. It's at 10 o'clock.
Like 20 minutes.
So anyhow, I think what we'll do is, unless it's very short, and it's not, I think we'll end here. But what we can know that the Lord, He comes for so many reasons, but ultimately it's to rejuvenate devotional service. Well, that's one of the higher tiers. And then Prabhupada was going into here, our condition. We're perverting everything. We're distorting something beautiful, which is love, and we're turning it into lust. And out of ignorance. And we think that the combinations of matter are going to make us happy. Let me put my tongue combination with this exotic chip combination and see how that makes me happy. And then let me put my skin combination with the body of my fellow other over here. Give him nice hugs and massages and things. Think that will make us happy. No, none of this makes us happy. It's only temporary flickering types of things, and people will spend our whole lives alternating between different types of chips and ice cream, or different types of bodies to caress and things like this. But this is ultimately yes, it's dukhalaya. It's a place of misery, and our attachment to these things only causes misery. But, there is actually a process, and it's hearing about the Lord. Hearing, even if you hear, eventually you will want to hear about the Prabhupada talks about this in the beginning of Bhagavatam in the purports. The pure sex life. You will want to hear about it one day. You'll want to hear about the purity. Michael's offering food, and when we eat only prasadam, there's a purity in engaging the taste. when we engage our sense of touch, Ambarish Maharaj is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, how he uses all of his senses in this bhakti process. This is what will purify all of these things and actually give us a taste of what pure life looks like, when in the real pleasure that comes in pure life. But it's a long way, we're so conditioned towards the perversion of what love looks like, or what we think love looks like, that it's very difficult. So this is very much hammered in this purport. And I like how Srila Prabhupada he's ultimately saying this mercy is bestowed upon the living being by the Lord in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because unless you understand how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is presenting this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's presentation. Unless you're understanding how the incarnation of the Lord came in Kali Yuga, you're going to miss it. There's so many Vaishnava Sampradayas, so many worshippers of Krishna, this Maharaj in Vrindavan, that Maharaj in Vrindavan, this thing and that thing and the other. But if they miss Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what a gem they're missing. And that's most. And, I feel very fortunate that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy has spread to me, and that was the only way Krishna was going to come all across the world. And it's the only way it has gone all across the world, Krishna and his teachings as well. So anyhow, I wish you all to imbibe these teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I wish you all to have a nice breakfast as well. I'm sorry it's done a little late. And thank you for joining online. And we'll continue.